the ominous arrival. In the far reaches of the cosmos, where stars burned like distant lanterns and the black void stretched endlessly, a rumor spread faster than any hyperlight signal. It was a whisper among the mightiest races of the galaxy, a name that was repeated in fearful awe: Earth. A planet insignificant in size, primitive in technology, yet strangely intriguing. Supreme Commander Zarvok, leader of the dreaded Ziran Armada, leaned forward over the holodeck aboard his flagship, the Eclipse of Dominance. The holographic map of the Milky Way shimmered before him, showing planets conquered, systems devastated, and civilizations obliterated in the wake of the Ziran's relentless expansion. Yet a tiny blue dot far from their central empire, pulsed with a signal unlike any other. Earth, Zarvok whispered, his voice cold and measured, yet tinged with curiosity. A world untouched by our fleets, primitive but intriguing. Beside him, his council of alien generals shifted nervously. Each was a veteran of countless conquests, their sleek, chitinous bodies reflecting the dim light of the command deck. They had razed planets to dust, dismantled empires with surgical precision, and yet the mere mention of Earth caused hesitation. Supreme Commander, spoke General Virex, his mandibles clicking nervously, the energy readings are unusual. Their planet is small, yet their electromagnetic signatures are highly concentrated. This could be interesting. Zarvok's eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the readings. The humans were primitive in technology compared to Ziran warships, but there was something in their signals, an unpredictable pattern that didn't align with known civilizations. Prepare the fleet, he commanded, his voice resonating with authority that could silence even the most defiant of worlds. We are going to see what Earth has to offer, or what it hides. Meanwhile, across the vast gulf of space, life on Earth carried on, blissfully unaware of the impending cosmic scrutiny. In a small town in Nebraska, under the gentle glow of the night sky, a young communications engineer named Cairo Niven adjusted his radio telescope, listening for signals from deep space. His eyes sparkled with curiosity, the same curiosity that had driven humanity for centuries to look at the stars and wonder. Cairo's humble lab was cluttered with wires, monitors, and old satellites salvaged from previous space missions. He had always dreamed of receiving something extraordinary, an unexplainable signal from the unknown. But tonight, as he tuned the receiver to a strange, erratic frequency, he sensed something different. The signal wasn't just a series of cosmic noises, it was structured, deliberate, almost intelligent. This isn't normal, he murmured, adjusting the dials. His assistant, Leora Dane, looked over his shoulder. She was a bright young physicist, fascinated by the mysteries of the universe, and had joined Cairo in his small but ambitious mission to detect extraterrestrial communications. Cairo, are you saying someone, or something, is trying to talk to us? Leora asked, her eyes wide with excitement and a hint of fear. I don't know yet, Cairo replied, scanning the signal. It's unlike anything I've seen before. Whoever or whatever sent this is advanced. Back on the Ziran flagship, the Armada's massive ships emerged from hyperspace, materializing on the outskirts of the solar system. They were titanic, black as the void itself, blotting out distant stars and sending shockwaves through the surrounding space. The humans, still ignorant of the fleet's presence, continued their nightly routines, staring at the stars with wonder, never imagining that the galaxy's most feared conquerors were observing them. Zarvok stood at the command deck, his many eyes scanning the approaching planet. Earth is small, fragile, insignificant, he mused. Yet, for all his experience and countless victories, a flicker of curiosity burned within him. But there is potential. Prepare the analysis drones. I want to know exactly what this world contains. The analysis drones were sleek, silent, and efficient. They darted through the solar system, scanning every corner of Earth's atmosphere, oceans, and continents. They observed humans as they slept, worked, and laughed, noting their technologies, their buildings, and the intricate patterns of their civilizations. Despite their primitive weaponry and limited technology, the drones recorded something the Zirans had never encountered: unpredictability, creativity, and a resilience that defied simple calculation. Commander, Virex reported, his mandibles trembling with a mixture of awe and apprehension. They are chaotic, unpredictable. Our simulations cannot accurately forecast their reactions. Zarvok's gaze hardened. He had conquered worlds where civilizations were orderly, where fear and discipline maintained control. Earth was different, chaotic in a way that made strategy difficult, yet fascinating. Perhaps, he said slowly, this small, insignificant planet could teach us something, or challenge us. Meanwhile, Cairo continued to monitor the strange signal. The patterns were becoming clearer, almost like a language. He and Leora debated endlessly on how to respond. Sending a message could invite danger, but it could also open a path to understanding. Humanity had never been passive in the face of the unknown, and Cairo felt a surge of determination. If they are out there, he said, then we have a chance to show them who we are, not just as a species but as a planet. We can't hide. Not anymore. As night fell over Earth, the massive Ziran fleet hovered silently in the void above, observing, analyzing, and waiting. The galaxy had shifted its attention to a small, blue planet that no one had thought important. Wars had been waged over star systems, empires had risen and fallen, yet now all eyes, calculating, cold, and merciless, were on Earth. And in a quiet lab in Nebraska, Cairo and Leora prepared for the first step that could change humanity's fate. They were about to send a message into the void, a message that could awaken the galaxy to the potential of a species it had underestimated. In that moment, as the stars shimmered above and the alien fleet cast shadows across the solar system, the stage was set. The ominous arrival had begun, and Earth would never be the same again. The galaxy had noticed, and it was trembling. The shadow over humanity. The sky over Earth remained deceptively calm as the massive Ziran fleet hovered beyond the orbit of Mars. From the ground, it looked like nothing more than a faint glimmer in the void, invisible to the naked eye. Yet for those who knew how to look, the signs were impossible to ignore. Satellites began to malfunction inexplicably, deep space communications experienced strange interference, and energy readings spiked across the globe. In New York, in a secure government facility hidden beneath layers of reinforced concrete, the Global Defense Council convened an emergency session. Leaders, military strategists, and scientists gathered in silence, the gravity of the situation pressing down on them like the very weight of the universe. Reports confirm multiple massive objects entering the solar system, said General Harold Vance, his voice steady but tense. Preliminary scans indicate they are not natural phenomena. These are ships, intelligent and clearly hostile. Heads turned toward the screens displaying the fleet's position. Black, angular behemoths stretching miles across, their surfaces absorbing light as if devouring the stars themselves. For decades, humanity had imagined alien contact, often with hope or curiosity. Now, those fantasies were confronting a terrifying reality. Far from the Council's secure chamber, in a small lab in Nebraska, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane monitored the readings with growing anxiety. Their humble array of antennas and satellites, once meant for academic research, now picked up the unmistakable energy signatures of the Ziran fleet. Cairo, Leora said, her fingers flying across the keyboard, look at this. Their energy output, it's off the charts. If they decide to attack, nothing on Earth could withstand them. Cairo stared at the data, a mixture of fear and determination etching his face. We might not survive a direct confrontation, he admitted. But maybe we don't have to fight with weapons. Maybe we can fight with our minds. Leora paused, confused. Our minds? Cairo, they can annihilate cities in seconds. What could we possibly do? Cairo turned to her, his eyes shining. We're unpredictable. They rely on calculations, logic, patterns. We're chaos, creativity, emotion. If we can show them who we are, maybe we can survive, maybe even make them hesitate. Back on the Armada's flagship, Supreme Commander Zarvok studied the planet below through the fleet's sensors. Earth was small, fragile, yet vibrant. Its surface teemed with life, a delicate web of oceans, continents, and atmosphere. The humans themselves were messy, unorganized, chaotic. But there was an energy about them, a spark that Zarvok could not quantify. These humans, he muttered to General Virex, they are primitive, yet resilient. Our scanners cannot predict their reactions accurately. Every simulation fails. It is fascinating. Virex's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement. They are difficult to classify, Supreme Commander. Unlike any species we have encountered. Zarvok's eyes narrowed. Prepare a reconnaissance probe. I want to see them, not just their cities but their minds. I want to understand the chaos that persists on this world. Meanwhile, on Earth, panic began to ripple through the population as reports of unusual satellite behavior and strange signals from deep space leaked into public channels. Social media erupted with speculation. Alien invasion, government cover-ups, cosmic phenomena. Yet despite fear, humanity's spirit flickered stubbornly. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens began to mobilize, collaborating to understand the strange signals and the mysterious fleet. Cairo and Leora decided it was time to act. They worked through the night, decoding fragments of the Ziran transmissions. The messages were complex, full of symbols and frequencies that suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension. And yet, through careful analysis they discovered a pattern, a way to communicate. "We can reach them," Cairo said, a mixture of awe and fear in his voice. "We can send them a message that shows them who we are, not just as a species but as a planet." Leora looked at him, uncertainty in her eyes. "And what if they interpret it wrong? What if we provoke them instead?" "Then we face extinction," Cairo replied calmly. "But if we succeed we have a chance to survive, to make them pause, to make them reconsider. It's our only hope." As they prepared their transmission, Earth's government scrambled to respond to the looming threat. Military forces were placed on high alert, and scientists across the globe worked tirelessly to analyze the fleet's technology. Yet nothing they developed matched the scale or sophistication of the Ziran vessels. Humanity was a candle flickering against a hurricane of alien power. And yet, in that moment of vulnerability there was also hope. The very traits that made humans seem fragile, creativity, emotion, unpredictability, might be the key to their survival. Cairo and Leora understood this instinctively. While the world prepared for war, they prepared for communication, for connection, for showing the invaders the strength that came from unity, resilience, and intellect. Above the solar system, the Ziran fleet waited silently, their massive ships blotting out distant stars. Commander Zarvok's sensors recorded every fluctuation of energy on the planet below, every broadcast signal, every human attempt to probe the void. "Their primitive technology is impressive in its creativity," he said almost to himself. "These humans, they are more complex than we anticipated. Perhaps there is potential here, or perhaps a risk." Virex's clicking mandibles betrayed uncertainty. "Supreme Commander, should we prepare for attack?" Zarvok shook his head slowly. "Not yet. Observe. Learn. The galaxy has underestimated species like this before. Perhaps Earth will teach us something new." Back on Earth, Cairo sent the first pulses of his message into space. It was a simple signal, a combination of sound, light, and pattern, designed to be universally intelligible. It carried no threat, only information. Images of humanity's achievements, snippets of music and language, glimpses of daily life, and the unmistakable spark of curiosity that defined humans. As the signal traversed the void, Cairo and Leora held their breath, aware that the galaxy's fate, and humanity's, could hinge on the reception of these few fragile pulses. The shadow over humanity was long and dark, but it was not yet a sword. Somewhere among the stars, the Ziran fleet waited, unyielding and merciless. And somewhere on Earth, a message had been sent, one that might change everything. The galaxy had begun to take notice. And the shadow over humanity was about to meet the light of human ingenuity. The message that could change everything. Night after night, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane worked tirelessly in their small Nebraska lab, their minds consumed by the challenge of reaching out to a civilization light years ahead of humanity. The Ziran fleet hovered silently in the void, their immense ships casting an invisible shadow over the planet, a reminder that time was not on humanity's side. Every second, every pulse of energy from Earth could be observed, analyzed, and judged by the merciless alien eyes above. "We can't scare them," Leora said, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she adjusted the signals and coding. "If they feel threatened, if they think we are primitive but dangerous, they'll destroy us without hesitation." Cairo nodded, his eyes fixed on the array of monitors. "Exactly. That's why this message has to show who we really are, not just what we've built but what we are. Our creativity, our curiosity, our spirit, all of it. They need to see that humanity isn't just another prey species." For days they debated what to include. They sifted through centuries of human achievements, the great works of art, the triumphs of science, the acts of kindness that defined human society. They even recorded moments of everyday life, children laughing, farmers tending fields, communities celebrating simple joys. These were fragments of a species that had survived despite countless odds, that had faced nature, disease and war, and endured. "It's not enough to show them what we've done," Cairo said thoughtfully. "We need to show them what we can become, what we fight for, and what unites us. We have to make them pause, make them think, make them understand that we are unpredictable, and that underestimating us could be a mistake." Leora hesitated. "And you really think they'll understand emotion, humor, humanity itself? They've never seen a species like us." They might not understand it the way we do, Cairo admitted. But the signal doesn't need to be fully understood. It just needs to make them question. Make them doubt. Make them see the value in choosing observation over destruction. They began constructing a signal unlike any ever sent from Earth. It combined mathematics, images and patterns meant to communicate universally, but also carried the subtle rhythm of music, the cadence of human language and the chaotic beauty of human behavior. Every element was meticulously chosen to represent the essence of humanity, a species that thrived not through sheer power but through ingenuity, adaptability, and heart. The process was painstaking. Weeks passed in a blur of calculations, testing, and reworking. Cairo even risked tapping into global communication satellites to amplify the signal, ensuring it would reach the fleet in full clarity. Leora worked to encode their message in a way that an alien intelligence could interpret without misreading it as a threat. Finally, the moment came. Cairo's fingers hovered over the final command, the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him. "Are we ready?" Leora asked, a mixture of fear and awe in her voice. "Ready as we'll ever be," Cairo replied. With a deep breath, he transmitted the message into the void, a pulse of energy traveling faster than any spacecraft, carrying the story of humanity into the waiting eyes of the Ziran Armada. The signal shimmered across light years, moving with a purpose, a hope and a silent plea. "See us. Understand us. Do not destroy us." Far above, on the bridge of the Eclipse of Dominance, Supreme Commander Zarvok's sensors intercepted the transmission. He raised a multifaceted eye to the data, his many pupils focusing on the intricate layers of the signal. "What is this?" he asked, his tone betraying the first flicker of uncertainty he had felt in decades of conquest. General Virex, standing beside him, clicked his mandibles nervously. "It's chaotic. Structured but not like any civilization we've encountered. It contains emotion, and logic and a humor? I cannot classify it." Zarvok's claws traced the edges of the holographic map, eyes narrowing. "They are attempting to communicate. Not with threats, not with weapons, but with themselves. They want us to see them as more than prey." Fascinating. As the message streamed across the fleet's sensors, the alien generals debated. Some urged immediate attack, arguing that any species capable of such ingenuity could be dangerous. Others, unsettled by the signal, suggested observation. Zarvok listened to their arguments silently, a strange emotion stirring within him, something alien even to him, curiosity mixed with respect. "Continue monitoring," Zarvok commanded, his voice calm but firm. "Do not act hastily. We must understand this species. Perhaps Earth is not as weak as it seems. Perhaps there is potential here." Back on Earth, Cairo and Leora watched the monitors, their hearts pounding as they waited for a response. Days passed with no acknowledgement, each moment stretching into an eternity. Yet even without a reply they felt the first spark of hope. Humanity had dared to speak, to assert itself in the face of an overwhelming adversary. "We've done what we could," Leora whispered. "Now, it's up to them." Cairo nodded, staring at the night sky. "They'll listen. They have to. There's something in humanity that even they can't ignore." And far above, in the silent void between stars, the Ziran fleet processed the message. Ships that had destroyed countless civilizations paused, their alien sensors struggling to quantify what they had received. Something about the humans was different, unpredictable, unclassifiable. Zarvok leaned back in his command chair, his mind racing. "Perhaps," he muttered, "this small, insignificant planet has a strength we have overlooked. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humanity, until now." On Earth, the first real sense of calm settled over Cairo and Leora. The shadow of fear remained, for the fleet was still there, still immense, still capable of unimaginable destruction. But for the first time humanity had shown that it could reach across the void, that it could communicate, and that it could survive not through weapons but through spirit. The message had been sent. The galaxy had heard it. And somewhere in the cold darkness of space, the invaders had begun to reconsider what it meant to face a species that fought not only with its body, but with its mind, its heart, and its unwavering ingenuity. The stage was set for the next chapter in the human story, a story where courage, creativity, and unity could defy even the most powerful forces in the universe. Humanity had made its first stand not with lasers or missiles, but with something far more formidable, itself. And for the first time the Ziran Armada paused. The galaxy trembled. The fleet reacts. The Ziran Armada hovered silently above Earth, their massive ships blotting out distant stars. The first human message had arrived, and it had caused a ripple through the alien fleet that no one had anticipated. Supreme Commander Zarvok studied the transmissions, his multifaceted eyes narrowing as the data poured in. "It's perplexing," he murmured almost to himself. The humans were primitive, yes, fragile even, yet their message carried a complexity that defied standard analysis. Images of Earth's cities, its oceans, and its people flickered across the holographic display. But it wasn't just their achievements that caught Zarvok's attention, it was the essence of humanity. Creativity, emotion, humor, courage. General Virex leaned closer, mandibles clicking nervously. "Supreme Commander, the signal contains patterns we cannot calculate. It is chaotic yet structured. They convey logic yet also emotion, unpredictability. How do we respond?" Zarvok's many eyes scanned the images again. Children laughing, people working together to build, heal, and create. Humans caring for each other, celebrating life despite their fragility, their fleeting existence in the vast expanse of space. He had faced countless species, crushed entire civilizations, and yet never had one species presented something like this. "This is unusual," Zarvok admitted. "Our simulations do not account for the variables presented here. They are anomalous." Within the fleet, debates erupted among the alien commanders. Many argued for immediate attack, citing the humans' unpredictability as a potential threat. Others suggested caution, recognizing the unusual intelligence displayed in the transmissions. "Supreme Commander," Virex continued, "our assault simulations indicate that attacking this species could lead to unpredictable consequences. Even with our superior technology, their chaotic behavior might yield unexpected resistance." Zarvok remained silent for a moment, weighing the reports. He had always relied on logic, efficiency, and overwhelming force. Yet now, faced with a species so small, so fragile, yet so full of spirit, he felt something unfamiliar: hesitation. "Very well," he finally said, his voice calm but commanding. "We will not strike immediately. Continue observation. Study them. Understand the humans before deciding their fate. Prepare reconnaissance drones to collect more data on their behavior." The drones launched silently, darting through the upper atmosphere of Earth. They were sleek, imperceptible to human detection, yet capable of gathering vast amounts of data. They observed cities, farms, laboratories, and homes, recording humans as they went about their daily lives. On Earth, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane continued to broadcast additional messages, expanding their communication. They included more cultural data: songs, stories, philosophies, even moments of laughter and conflict. Their goal was not intimidation but understanding. A way to make the Zirans pause, to reconsider, and perhaps recognize the value in preserving rather than destroying this vibrant, chaotic species. "We have to show them humanity's spirit," Cairo said as he adjusted the signal. "Not our weapons, not our technology, but the very essence that makes us human. Our creativity, our resilience, our ability to adapt. That's what they need to see." The drones transmitted their findings back to the Ziran fleet. The humans were chaotic yet ingenious. They faced natural disasters, conflict, and adversity with a resilience that the Zirans had not anticipated. They collaborated in ways that defied logic, improvising solutions to impossible problems. "Supreme Commander," Virex reported after reviewing the new data, "they are remarkable. They lack the technological advantage, yet they compensate with ingenuity, adaptability, and social cohesion. Our simulations cannot predict the outcome of any direct assault." Zarvok's claws tapped against the console, a gesture that mirrored the slow turning of his thoughts. "It appears," he said carefully, "that the humans possess a quality that transcends conventional power. Intelligence alone does not define a civilization. Strength alone does not ensure dominance. These creatures are unique." For the first time, a decision was made that would change the course of human history. Zarvok ordered a temporary withdrawal of the fleet to a safe distance, not out of fear but to observe further. He needed to understand humanity's unpredictable nature before committing to any action. Back on Earth, Cairo and Leora felt a subtle shift. Although they could not see the fleet, subtle changes in the incoming signals suggested that the aliens were listening, analyzing, and perhaps reconsidering. "They paused," Leora whispered. "They didn't attack." Cairo nodded, his eyes reflecting a mix of relief and determination. "Yes, but pausing is not the same as leaving. We have to continue. Show them who we are. Make them see that humanity is not just worth observing, but worth respecting." The message continued, expanding beyond technology and art. It showed humans working together in crises, building communities despite hardships, and striving to understand the universe despite their limitations. Each pulse of the signal carried not threats, but the courage, humor, and resilience that defined humanity. And somewhere in the void, the Ziran Armada analyzed every detail. Ships that had destroyed countless civilizations paused, their algorithms challenged by the unpredictable variables of human behavior. Commander Zarvok realized that the humans were not just a species to be conquered, they were a species to be understood, perhaps even respected. Perhaps, Zarvok mused, the galaxy has underestimated Earth. Perhaps our calculations must be revised. These humans, they are more than they appear. As the Zirans continued to process the message, tension within their ranks remained. Some generals urged caution, others grew frustrated at the delays, but Zarvok's decision was final. Observation and understanding would precede action. On Earth, Cairo and Leora looked at the night sky, knowing that the galaxy had received their first attempt at communication. It was only the beginning, but it was enough to make the universe pause, enough to give humanity a fighting chance. Not with weapons but with spirit, intellect, and the courage to reach across the void. The fleet reacted, yes, but not with immediate aggression. Instead, it reacted with curiosity, hesitation, and perhaps the first hint of respect. Humanity had made its presence known, not through destruction, but through ingenuity and heart. The galaxy for the first time trembled, not at the might of human weapons, but at the boundless potential of human spirit. And in that silent pause, a fragile hope emerged, that Earth, small and vulnerable, could face the stars on its own terms. The unexpected strike. The silence in space was deceptive. From the surface of Earth, the night sky appeared undisturbed, the stars twinkling as always. Yet beyond the veil of atmosphere, the Ziran Armada lingered, massive ships casting invisible shadows over the planet. Commander Zarvok had ordered observation, but among the ranks of his generals, tension simmered like a storm ready to break. "Supreme Commander," snapped General Krivak, his voice like jagged metal, "we have waited long enough. The species is primitive. Every hour we delay increases the risk of surprise. They could be planning something, hiding technology, or—" "Enough," Zarvok interrupted, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. He had faced mutiny and rebellion countless times, yet this species, small, fragile, chaotic, stirred a hesitation he had never encountered. "They are unpredictable. Yes. But our simulations fail to account for their ingenuity. We will continue to observe for now. The decision to strike is mine alone." Krivak's mandibles clicked in frustration, but he fell silent. Even among the most aggressive commanders, Zarvok's authority was absolute. Still, doubt lingered in the minds of some. Could a species so weak, so defenseless, pose a threat simply by being human? On Earth, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane monitored the Ziran fleet's subtle shifts, interpreting the data from their small lab. Though they couldn't see the ships, the changes in the alien sensors suggested movement. Something was brewing. "Cairo, they're not just observing anymore," Leora whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Some of their smaller vessels are repositioning, maybe preparing an attack." Cairo's jaw tightened. "Then we have to act fast. The next message must show them that humanity is not just chaos. We are united, resourceful, and capable of adapting. We need to make them hesitate, make them question the cost of attacking us." They worked quickly, sending another transmission. This time it was not only images and stories, it was demonstrations of human ingenuity under pressure. Engineers devising solutions during natural disasters, communities rebuilding after earthquakes, scientists launching daring missions into the unknown, and acts of courage from ordinary people. Every snippet highlighted the unpredictability and resilience of humans. Far above, the Ziran fleet received the transmission. Zarvok studied it, his eyes tracing the patterns of human life and thought. Each display revealed a species that, despite technological inferiority, thrived on creativity and adaptation. "Observe them closely," he commanded. "They are more complex than our simulations predict. But, some of you are growing impatient." Krivak and his faction of commanders bristled. "Supreme Commander, every delay is an opportunity for this species to evolve, to prepare, to—" "They already are evolving," Zarvok interrupted calmly. "Through ingenuity, not weapons. They demonstrate problem-solving, unpredictability, and creativity. If we strike prematurely, we risk underestimating them." But tension among the fleet's ranks was not easily quelled. While Zarvok's attention was on observation and analysis, Krivak secretly ordered a small contingent of ships to break formation. They moved toward Earth, intending to strike a human city as a show of force, to intimidate and dominate. On Earth, the first signs were subtle: power fluctuations, strange electromagnetic interference, and small atmospheric disturbances. Most humans ignored them as anomalies, but Cairo and Leora recognized the signs immediately. "They're testing us," Cairo said grimly. "A warning strike, not full-scale destruction but enough to intimidate." The small alien contingent descended near the outskirts of a mid-sized city, their weapons charged, scanning for vulnerabilities. Panic began to ripple through the population, and emergency services scrambled to respond, unaware of the cosmic scale of the threat. Cairo and Leora acted quickly. They transmitted a new signal directly to the attacking ships, a complex combination of data, music, and imagery designed to convey humanity's ingenuity, resourcefulness, and unpredictability. It was not a threat, but a demonstration. Humanity could adapt, survive, and fight back in ways the aliens had not anticipated. The alien ships paused, their targeting systems wavering. The signal interfered with their calculations, their advanced technology struggling to predict the response of the humans below. The humans reacted to the strike not with weapons, but with intelligence, improvisation, and resilience. From their lab, Cairo and Leora watched as the alien ships hesitated, unable to act decisively. "They're unsure," Leora said, her voice trembling with awe. "Our message, it's working." Krivak, observing from the fleet, seethed. "Supreme Commander, this species is unpredictable. Their reaction, they adapt. They anticipate even our smallest actions." Zarvok's eyes followed the pause, his claws tapping slowly against the command console. "Exactly," he said almost softly. "This is why we observe. Not everything can be measured in weapons or numbers. There is value in intelligence, in ingenuity, in spirit. This is a species unlike any we have faced." Realizing the futility of a direct strike, Krivak's contingent withdrew. The attempted attack had been thwarted, not by force, but by humanity's creativity and quick thinking. The humans had demonstrated that even in the face of overwhelming power, they could survive through intellect, adaptability, and unity. On Earth, Cairo and Leora allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. "We did it," Cairo said, his voice filled with exhaustion and wonder. "Not through violence, through who we are." Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the night sky. They paused, they hesitated. "We've bought humanity more time. But the war isn't over. This is just the beginning." High above, Zarvok made his decision. The Ziran fleet would not attack immediately. Observation, study, and analysis would continue. Humanity had proven itself capable of something extraordinary, surviving without weapons, thriving through unpredictability, and commanding attention from the galaxy's most feared conquerors. "They are remarkable," Zarvok said quietly, recording the events in the fleet's logs. "A species so small yet so unpredictable. The galaxy must take note. And perhaps, the galaxy has underestimated them until now." The shadow over humanity had lifted slightly, replaced by a fragile, flickering hope. Earth was still vulnerable, still under the gaze of a powerful alien force, yet it had demonstrated something no weapon could achieve: the undeniable strength of its people. And in the silent pause that followed the attempted strike, the humans of Earth had proven one fundamental truth: even against the mightiest adversaries, ingenuity, courage, and unity could turn the tide. The galaxy had noticed. Humanity had survived. Diplomacy beyond the stars. The Ziran armada had withdrawn to a cautious distance, hovering beyond the orbit of Mars. Supreme Commander Zarvok and his council spent countless cycles analyzing the humans, recording every action, every broadcast, every subtle signal that emanated from the blue planet. The attempted strike had failed, not through force, but through ingenuity and adaptability, a concept that even the most advanced algorithms struggled to quantify. "This species," Zarvok murmured, tracing patterns on the holographic display, "they do not fight in ways we understand. They use their minds, their creativity, their chaos. Every simulation fails. Every prediction is wrong. They are unpredictable." General Virex's mandibles clicked nervously. "Supreme Commander, they are still primitive. Yet they demonstrate coordination, innovation, and resilience. They continue to broadcast signals. They communicate. Perhaps they intend dialogue rather than conflict." Zarvok leaned back, his multiple eyes reflecting the holographic stars. "Dialogue with us? Why would they attempt communication? Our species is vastly superior. We could obliterate them instantly. And yet they try. They seek understanding. Fascinating. On Earth, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane worked tirelessly. Their goal was no longer simply to survive the looming threat. It was to establish a bridge of understanding, a form of diplomacy that could prevent annihilation and maybe even earn the respect of an entire alien armada. "We've shown them who we are," Cairo said, adjusting the signal's frequency. "Now we have to show them what we stand for. Not just survival, but unity, cooperation, and the potential of a species that can reach across the stars with curiosity and compassion." Leora nodded, her hands flying across the keyboard as she encoded the new transmission. This one was different. It contained stories of human achievements in science and art, yes, but also philosophies, codes of ethics, and moments of empathy. It demonstrated that humanity was not only capable of invention but capable of restraint, kindness, and moral judgment. "We need to show them that attacking us is not only futile," Leora said, "but that cooperating with us could be valuable. That we are a species worth understanding, not destroying." The message pulsed across space, reaching the Ziran fleet with precision. Zarvok observed the transmission, his attention fully captured. Humans caring for each other, solving problems with ingenuity, and striving to explore and understand the universe. They displayed traits unfamiliar to the Zirans. Unpredictability paired with foresight, creativity paired with cooperation. "Remarkable," Zarvok murmured. "They do not rely solely on weapons or power. They rely on mind, spirit, and adaptability. Perhaps their value lies not in what they can destroy, but in what they can contribute, if we observe carefully." Among the alien generals, debate raged. Many were eager to conquer, to assert dominance. Yet the humans' transmissions had forced a pause, a reconsideration of strategy. To some, these chaotic, fragile beings represented a risk. To others, a potential opportunity. "Supreme Commander," Virex said cautiously, "if they continue to communicate and demonstrate intelligence, they could become allies rather than adversaries. This may be the first species capable of offering insights into unpredictability, creativity, and moral decision-making." Zarvok remained silent for a long moment, processing the unprecedented notion. "You suggest diplomacy?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity rather than command. "Observation has shown," Virex replied, "that attacking them now would be a waste. They adapt too quickly. They anticipate. They think. Perhaps, engagement rather than annihilation would yield greater understanding." And so, a bold decision was made. The Ziran fleet would maintain its presence, but not with hostility. Reconnaissance drones would continue to observe, but the humans' messages would be received in full. Zarvok, for the first time in his career, chose patience over destruction, curiosity over conquest. On Earth, Cairo and Leora sensed the shift. The signals from the fleet no longer carried the subtle tension of imminent attack. Instead, they were quiet, almost contemplative. The humans had succeeded in buying time, but more importantly, they had initiated dialogue, an unprecedented feat against a civilization that had never tolerated negotiation with weaker species. "They're listening," Cairo whispered, a mixture of relief and awe in his voice. "They're actually listening. This is incredible." Leora smiled. "Not just listening. They're learning. And that means, maybe we can shape the way they see us, the way the galaxy sees us." Over the following cycles, the humans continued to send carefully curated transmissions. They shared mathematical patterns, artistic creations, philosophical reflections, and evidence of cooperation across cultures. Each signal emphasized humanity's adaptability, creativity, and moral capacity, qualities the Zirans could neither destroy nor fully predict. Zarvok watched all of it, recording his observations meticulously. "Perhaps we have underestimated this planet," he murmured. "They are not merely survivors. They are thinkers, creators, and in their chaos, they possess a type of order we have yet to comprehend." Gradually, the alien commanders began to acknowledge the humans in a way they never had with other species. Not as prey, not as insignificant creatures, but as a civilization worth understanding, worth observing, and possibly worth sparing. Back on Earth, Cairo and Leora prepared their most ambitious transmission yet, a series of interactive signals designed to challenge the Zirans' logic, provoke curiosity, and demonstrate humanity's collaborative ingenuity. It was diplomacy through demonstration, a language of culture, intellect, and spirit rather than weapons. "This could change everything," Cairo said. "If they truly understand what we've shared, they might reconsider their role in our fate. Maybe, just maybe, we can avoid war entirely." As the signal surged across the void, Earth held its collective breath. The shadow that had once loomed over humanity was still present, but it no longer carried the certainty of destruction. Now it carried possibility, dialogue, understanding. For the first time, humanity was no longer simply a target in the galaxy. Humanity had become a voice, a presence, a force of intellect and spirit that even the most fearsome conquerors could not ignore. And far above, Zarvok and his fleet processed the messages, contemplating a future that had never before been considered. That in the vast emptiness of space, a fragile, chaotic and unpredictable species could teach even the most powerful empire the value of patience, observation and diplomacy. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary, a species small in size but immense in potential, reaching across the stars not with weapons, but with understanding. Humanity had taken its first true step into the cosmic stage, not as prey but as a participant, capable of shaping the course of events through ingenuity, diplomacy, and the unyielding spirit that defined them. The galaxy trembled, not in fear of human destruction, but in awe of human potential. The galaxy trembles yet respects. The stars shone cold and indifferent above Earth, yet beneath their light, something extraordinary had occurred. For the first time in recorded history, a species so small, so fragile, and so seemingly insignificant had not only survived the scrutiny of the galaxy's most feared conquerors, it had made them pause, reconsider, and even respect its existence. Supreme Commander Zarvok stood on the bridge of the eclipse of dominance, observing the blue planet below. His many eyes traced the continents, the oceans, the sprawling cities, and the scattered lights of human civilization. For decades, he had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, worlds conquered and civilizations obliterated. Yet Earth was different. "They are remarkable," Zarvok said, his voice tinged with something that even he struggled to name. "Not through power. Not through weapons. But through spirit, ingenuity, and resilience. They fight not with destruction but with thought, creativity, and courage. They are unpredictable. And that is their strength." General Virex inclined his head. "Indeed, Supreme Commander. Their transmissions continue to demonstrate cooperation, intelligence, and moral judgment. They are not just surviving, they are asserting themselves through diplomacy, creativity, and the sheer force of their minds. The attempted strike, the messages, the demonstrations of ingenuity and adaptation, all had shifted the perception of the humans. The Ziran fleet, once poised for conquest, now hovered with restraint, observation, and curiosity. They were witnessing something no previous species had achieved, respect earned without the use of weapons. Far below, in Nebraska, Cairo Niven and Leora Dane watched the data from their lab with a mixture of relief and awe. Their latest transmissions had reached the fleet, showing not only human achievements but human ethics, empathy, and cooperation across borders, cultures, and ideologies. "We've done it," Cairo said quietly, almost in disbelief. "They're not attacking. They're listening. Learning." Leora smiled, her eyes reflecting the night sky. "We didn't just survive. We've made them see that humanity is more than its weapons. We've made them see our value, our potential, our spirit." Above, Zarvok recorded his observations meticulously. In his log he wrote, "A species so small, so seemingly insignificant, has forced the galaxy's most advanced civilization to reconsider the value of life, ingenuity, and unpredictability. They have survived not through force, but through intellect, creativity, and unity. The galaxy has underestimated them until now." The ripple of this realization spread across the Ziran fleet. Generals who had advocated for immediate conquest now acknowledged the humans' uniqueness. Even Krivak, the commander who had once pushed for the strike, remained silent, his pride humbled by the ingenuity and resilience of a species he had once considered prey. On Earth, the humans continued their broadcast. Each signal emphasized creativity, collaboration, and the pursuit of knowledge. They were cautious, yes, but confident in the realization that their most potent weapon was their mind, their spirit, and their unity. "We've shown them who we are," Cairo said, leaning back from the console. "Now they see that destroying us would not only be pointless, it would be unnecessary. We've made them pause." Leora nodded. "And that pause is our chance. Humanity is no longer a target. We're a presence, a force. Not of weapons but of potential." Across the galaxy, the pause was felt not just by the Zirans, but by other civilizations observing from afar. The transmissions from Earth, now reaching further than initially intended, carried a message. A species had survived the scrutiny of a galactic superpower through ingenuity, creativity, and unity. A species had proven that strength was not measured by weapons alone. Zarvok finally addressed his council. We will not attack. Instead, we will continue to study, to learn, and perhaps even communicate. Humanity has demonstrated qualities that are invaluable: unpredictability, resilience, innovation, and a capacity for cooperation unmatched by any species we have previously encountered. It was a moment unprecedented in the galaxy's history. A species small in size, yet enormous in spirit, had forced one of the most powerful empires to hesitate, to reconsider, to respect its existence. The galaxy had trembled, not in fear of destruction but in recognition of human potential. On Earth, Cairo and Leora gazed at the night sky, knowing that humanity's first step into the cosmic stage had been successful. They had spoken, and the universe had listened. They had demonstrated that humans were more than fragile bodies and primitive technology. They were creators, thinkers, and collaborators capable of shaking the foundations of galactic assumptions. The galaxy has noticed, Cairo said softly. And it respects us, at least for now. Leora smiled. Not just for now. This is the beginning. We've set a precedent. Humanity has shown that even the smallest species can shape the course of the universe, not with weapons but with ingenuity, creativity, and spirit. High above, the Ziran fleet slowly withdrew to a more distant orbit, not in retreat but in respect and observation. They had learned something they could not have predicted. Strength was not only measured in firepower, domination, or destruction. True strength could lie in unity, intelligence, creativity, and the unyielding spirit of a species willing to rise above fear, to communicate, to endure. And so, Earth remained untouched, the shadow of destruction lifted. Humanity had survived not because of what they could destroy, but because of what they could imagine, create, and inspire. The galaxy trembled, yes, but not in fear of humanity's weapons. It trembled in awe of what humanity represented. A species small in stature but vast in potential, capable of reaching across the stars and leaving an indelible mark on the cosmos. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo through the ages. Underestimate humanity at your peril. For humans had proven, in the quiet brilliance of ingenuity and unity, that they were not merely survivors. They were a force to be respected, a story worth telling, and a spark capable of igniting hope across the stars. And on Earth, beneath the night sky that stretched into infinity, Cairo, Niven, and Leora Dane knew one undeniable truth. Humanity had spoken. The universe had listened. And for the first time, the stars were not just distant lights. They were a stage waiting for humanity to shine. The galaxy had trembled. And now it respected humanity.